sector. If you guys have any questions during the session, please feel free to drop them here. And we're going to take them up after, towards the end. All right, recording is in progress. Great, so we've got two amazing speakers with us tonight. And before I introduce them to you, let's just hold on your horses for a little more. I'm Paridhi, co-founder of MBA Beyond, and thanks for joining us today for Coffee with MBA Beyond. We are mostly going to be talking about how should you be tackling your application right now if you're thinking about R2 for some of the top schools, including M7, INSEAD, London Business School, any top school that crosses your mind, ranked by Financial Times or Bloomberg. Before we jump onto the session and before we start talking about what the session is really going to be about, I really want you to start thinking or looking at the session with the perspective of these two questions, because these are essential if you're looking to work with MBA and Beyond. Since we can't work with all of you, we only work with selected few. The first question we're going to send you at the end of the session, somebody's going to reach out to you from within the team. It's going to be either Neha or Kashish. The first question is going to be, which 3 schools are you applying to in R2 and why? Don't take too much pressure. I mean, just feel free to free flow and honestly dump your thoughts around it. And the second one is going to be, what do you think is your most unique selling point for a business school? The top 3 candidates who we're going to pick 7 out of you, but the top 3 candidates are going to get up to 20% discount with us, who are going to have the highest potential of converting these schools that they're talking about. No pressure, it's very easy, but go through the session with a perspective. That's all we want. The agenda for today is going to be how to pick, target, reach, and safety schools, important essay writing lessons, how to identify the theme of your story, how boasting can backfire on your admission chances. We're going to talk about a lot of overselling and underselling. And the speakers for today are Elena and Ashmita. Welcome to Coffee with MBA and Beyond. And I'm so excited to host both of you, Elena. Elena is an MBA graduate from Columbia Business School. And for most of you, I know your post-MBA goals are consulting or tech, product management. She's your go-to person right there. She works at the cusp of consulting and tech. She brings in that kind of perspective that we want to own our skills using an MBA to have a post-MBA goal in either management consulting, strategy consulting, technology, product management, Silicon Valley. That's all we're going to talk about. So she's your go-to person. She brings in a very unique perspective because she also has a degree in law and business. So that's a very unique background, Elena. Welcome to the session today. And I'm really excited to have all the insights from you. Next on the lot, we've got Ashmita. Ashmita is an incoming candidate at IE Business School. And the big news here is she's bagged a 32K European euros scholarship, and she's just an amazing candidate as well as an advisor when it comes to your background in marketing, trying to get into MBA to go to the other side. So she's been amazing at pivoting careers from chartered accountant to marketing professional. And now she's got big goals and big dreams. So the kind of stories that she brings to the table as a marketing professional are just absolutely and aptly sellable to any of the top business schools. All right, I'm going to hand over the mic to both of you, whoever's going to go first, and mute myself. Enjoy the session, guys.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to talk about the 2 first points that Brady mentioned. So the first one, and really important one, is to choose what is the right school for you. And I've summarized everything in 6 main points I'm going to go through, and hopefully you have many questions for me afterwards, and I'll be happy to answer. So the first thing to start when you're choosing which is the best school for you, I think is to start by checking out the rankings. EFT, the economies, the US mentioned, there are plenty of them. But I think it's a good way to start, just to have a good sense of what the public believes are the very best, or what are the good schools to apply to. Just to mention that there are really tons of really good schools. You don't have to go to the top 10. It's just to like give you a sense of what's going to be like the public or the market going to value that MBA. Then you should gather all your statistics. So here what I mean is gather all your quantifiable information. By that, I mean your GPA, your years of work experience, how many times you've been promoted, your GMAT, and so on, just to gather all your data. Once you have that data, you should compare it to the statistics that you have from the different rankings and see where you line up with the different schools. Where are your chances, your good chances to get into one of these schools? And once you have that, everything that you think that could help increase the strength of your statistics or your quantifiable information, you should try to strengthen it. And by that, I mean, for example, if your GPA you think is not strong enough, it might be a good chance to retake your GMAT or GRE, because there's still some room for improvement. The same if you're done with a test and you don't want to do more tests, it might be a good chance to take a course in finance, in maths, just to strengthen or boost your quantitative profile. And also it would be a really good time to decide if it's a really good time for you to do the MBA or not, because it might be a great chance to sit down and think, okay, am I ready for an MBA now, or should I wait a bit longer? Should I have more years of experience? Should I be promoted a couple more times? Should I retake my GMAT in a longer period of time? I think it's a really good time to sit down. It's like, is it the right time for me to sit down and go for this? Because it's it is a really long time, and it's really hard work, as you'll see. Then once you think that you're ready for it, I think it's time to choose which target schools you should go for. I think the recommended amount is between 4 to 8. I think it's a really good sweet spot for you, because the chances that you'll get into one are really high. And within these 5 to 8 schools, you should look for dream or rich schools, for match or target, and safeties. What I mean by dream is those schools that you think you have a fighting chance of getting in. And if you don't have a fighting chance, you'll regret if you don't try. And you'll never know, and you will always wonder, would I have ever gotten into Harvard or Stanford? Just to give it a try, and just to mention a name. Match are those universities that you think that historically all these stats really match with you and really align with the statistics that you gathered before. So you have really good chances of getting in. And safeties are those when you're in the really strong end of getting in. You have a stronger GMAT, you have a stronger GPA, you have really good brands in your resume. I normally recommend 1 to 2 dream schools, 3 to 4 matches, and then 1 to 2 safeties. And I would say that safeties are really, really important to have, because even if you just get into one of the safety schools that you've chosen, the benefits of the MBA are going to be so big, and everything that you're going to achieve going to those universities is so massive that I will completely like push you to like and recommend you to go to those schools. Because also I would like to mention that the brand of the MBA is something secondary about regarding the quality of the experience and knowledge that you will get from the MBA. And then to follow the 6th step, I talk about research those schools. So once you decide these 5 to 8 schools that you want to apply to, start doing the research. Why I'm putting it like the 6 points? Because I think that sometimes you start with the research process too early, and you fall in love with that university, and then you realize that you're not a good fit, or your chances are really low to get in. That can be a bit frustrating, and also it's kind of a waste of time. So I think that is a really good point, now that you know the schools you want to start the research, and start the research of the schools you think you have a really good chance of getting in. And what things you should do research for? You should look into what are do these schools help you with the specific goals that you have? Are they going to push you or help you reach your career goals? Does this school have the clubs and opportunities you're looking for? Does the location, is it good for you? Are you willing to spend 2 years over there? Because the location might look like something really nimble, but it is the place where you're going to spend 2 years. You're going to have exposure to companies, to speakers. It's something also to take into account. And also, are there extracurricular activities like enjoyable? Do you like them? I think those different like things that you should research for when you're doing your research phase. And the more you do, the better it will be during the application process, because you'll know more and more about it, and it's easier to go through all the essays and the full application. And finally, the last point is to apply and choose and prioritize your favorite school. This is actually one of the hardest and one of the most important points of this list, because once, if you like, I hope you are in this situation that you have 3 schools you've been admitted to, it is really hard to sit down and decide which is the best program for me among all the ones I've been offered. You have to get some time to discern which one is the best for you, which one is going to help you achieve your dreams and your goals. And that looks like a really simple, now it looks like a really simple decision, but it really takes some time, and you really need to have like a good list of prioritization of which school would you like to get into if you were given the offer from XYZ. And this will be the first part of my presentation. Now moving into the next slide, if you can change, yeah, to move to the next one. The second part of my presentation is to talk about how to write a great essay. And the first point I wanted to mention, and I know Ashmita is gonna dig deeper into this one and go deeper. I wanted to mention, like, I know that when you're facing this process, and most of the time they tell you during the writing essay process and then afterwards in the interview that you have to be yourself. And it's something really hard sometimes to like express, what is it to be myself, no? And I just want to mention that it's not about being yourself, it's more knowing about yourself and being more aware about yourself, understanding what makes you tick and what really makes you feel like, what drives you every day. Because for me, the MBA process, and at least it was for me during the time I applied, it was more of a contemplating phase of my life. And I really think that those candidates are really successful at those are able to show the highest degree of self-awareness, because you can see during the application what they really feel and who they really are through the essays. And I think that the B schools are, once they see that, they have more faith that the goals that you mention in those essays are real, they're real goals, and you're going to be really successful and you're really going to fight for them. So I think it gives a more candid, a better view of yourself. So I think before writing your essay, one of the things that in MBA and Beyond they do, which I think is pretty solid and really highly recommended, is the content gathering phase, because it's really useful. You'll go through this contemplating phase where you have a chance to sit down and do some self-reflection. And the things that I would consider, and I think are some suggestions that I'll give you, is what things you should think about. First of all, and you can see when you go through the content gathering, what are your strengths? What are the qualities that you think that are most valuable for you? What are your core values that define you? Then, what are the challenges or the times that you were tested about those strengths and about those qualities? When did you have to work up to live up for those values? When did you struggle to be who you are? And then through that, you'll discover a more true self about a more true side about yourself. And then finally, what are your goals? What do you want to get from the MBA? Because probably if I ask that question to the open floor, most of you will tell me, I have no clue. I really don't know where I want to be in 10 years time. But if you're able to think, what is the next option that you like to be? What is the next company you would like to work in? Probably you will discover some things about what really like drives you. What is the sense of impact that you want to have? Where do you want to influence? What is the desire of change you want to have? And this will be your real story. And that will define where you would like to be, who you would like to be, and where you would like to go for B school. And that's like my side note before starting for the do's and don'ts for essay writing. So bear with me a couple more minutes and I'll be done. So first of all, not going back, sorry, the do's and don'ts for my recommendations for story writing. Can you go back? Sorry. So they can.
I'm so sorry. It's my screen that actually hung.
If you remember what I had in my screen, don't worry. So some of the do's that I mentioned before, you have to be simple. You have to be direct to the point. Don't keep in 25 words where you can write. So whatever you can say in 25 words, say it in 10. The power of concision, it shows like you really like, it shows power, and it shows that you really know what you're trying to say. The more verbs and the less adverbs and nouns that you use, the better. Also, try to write to one single person. Try and avoid writing to a committee, and avoid to whom it might concern. Try to, like, if you have time, watch the videos of the different deans of admissions of the different schools. I think that really helps to have a feeling of what the schools are looking for. Also, don't be afraid of using small moments of your life. Every time I chat with different candidates, they always tell me, I mean, this is just a really boring and really silly story that once happened. But most of the time, through those small stories, you can find things that really define you and that really change your mind and really change your life, and you didn't really know, or you just didn't realize that they were so big in your life. And they sometimes show like the real you, the authenticity that we're talking about. And also, I also suggest, or I also tell my candidates to get inspired, like go for a walk, watch a Pixar movie, and go to a museum. Just look for uplifting moments and happiness moments that will make you feel what story you want to talk about. It just makes you like more inspiring when you're writing the essay, and you need to be in a positive mood to write these essays. And then in my don't do list, I would say, first of all, avoid opening with quotations, because that's been really, really used. I mean, I recommend not to use it because it's been overused as a communication style. Try to avoid irrelevant vivid moments. I remember some candidates that start talking about that day when they woke up at 8 a.m. and it was raining outside, and then they saw someone, and then they crossed the street. Avoid that, first of all, because space is limited, and secondly, it becomes tedious and really boring to like get your audience engaged. And finally, try to avoid starting the essay with a really abrupt start. For example, the prompt can be, what are your goals in life? And you start, so the goals in life are. It just doesn't give the audience, it doesn't give the reader the chance to get engaged with the reading and start like looking for a story that you're trying to tell. Also, avoid being Shakespearean. Many MBA applicants, they tend to overwrite and try to like come up with a really nice prose. I mean, we're not applying for a writing course on a writing degree, and they're just trying to evaluate your communication skills. They're not trying to see your prose style. So try to keep it simple, as I was saying before. Also try to, and this is my Zoom in my do's from the essay that I forgot, sorry. Try to reveal your integrity. This is something that's linked from what I was saying before. Try to zoom in the thoughts, the feelings, the rationale, your motivations, everything that makes you, it makes you think, or it reveals how you thought or felt during that moment. I'm coming back to my don'ts. Jumping back, sorry. Don't abuse with the verb to be, because you're trying to show more vivid action about the actions that you had, and avoid the verb to be is more about description, and it doesn't show that much the actions that you took. Then I would say, if the essay, when you read and you proofread your essay and you're reading it out loud, if it doesn't inspire you, just don't submit it, because that is a really no-go point or red flag to have. And finally, I'll say, don't be afraid of starting over. I know it's really painful and frustrating, but if the essay doesn't inspire you and you're not happy with it, it's better to just like eliminate it and start over with a blank page and start from scratch. And that'll be everything from my side. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for beautiful insights. Do we have Ashmita now?
Yes. Hi, Paridhi.
Hey, hi. All right, I'm gonna go on.
All right, so we'll go forward with this. If you could just go to the previous slide, Paridhi. I just want to talk to all of you about what the topic is. So it's called Theme of the Story, and to be very fair, it does sound something that has got nothing to do with an application. It sounds as if it's sounds irrelevant, sounds as if, okay, fine, we know we need to have a theme, we need to have personal branding and all of that, get to the point, tell us about something that is useful for R2. We are already away from the deadline of R1, and I see that most of you are Indians, so we have a specific challenge of absolutely needing to get through in R2. I get all of that. I just want to mention this to you, that there's a reason we are talking about this, about specifically theme of the story. Theme of your story is because I haven't met a single MBA candidate or a single person in my cohort who hasn't struggled with this, who hasn't worked towards this. We have all been in a position where we have had to encounter this question, and we have absolutely crashed. We have no idea what to do. And the moment we figured it out, literally every single thing, every single step after that became easier. It's not just about your application. When you get into your B school, you will be doing 1,000,001 things together, and then some more. And it is very, very crucial to have this absolutely nailed down. It is going to help you in your applications. It's going to help you in your essays. It's going to help you in all the competitions that you apply to after this. It's going to help you in your work groups. It's going to help you literally in everything you do. So that is why we're going to focus on this, and we're going to talk about where theme comes from and why at all is it necessary. All right. So a little bit of interaction. would be great. If you all could come on camera, that would be even fantastic. But if it isn't, if you can't, it's fine. I get that. But maybe you can unmute and tell me that what is it that you think of when you see these three pictures? Do you know all three of them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty popular. Weird question. Yes. So maybe starting with number one, Steve Jobs. What do you think of when we talk about Steve Jobs? Just one word, maybe.
Well, very
Sorry? Pranjal?
one word. Yeah, one
Yeah,
word is
any descriptive word. If you had to describe Steve Jobs in a word.
he was a marketing guru. He was
He was
excellent
a
at
marketing
marketing
guru.
himself and his
Okay.
products. So despite
Okay.
being a very problematic individual, we still
Fair.
yeah.
Problematic individual, fair, agreed. Okay, then
Ahead of his
innovator,
time.
visionary, excellence, think different is what we are getting as answers. Anybody else?
He was ahead of his time.
Ahead of its time, all right. Bold, out of the box. It's somebody with the name iPhone is typing out of the box, and I cannot tell you how serendipitous this is. All right. What about the second one, who is Jürgen Klopp? Jürgen Klopp, for non-football fans, Jürgen Klopp is the manager of Liverpool. So any perseverance, okay? No, it's fine. It's fine, Soumya. Anything else about Jürgen Klopp? Any football fans here? Grit, all right. Anything else? Legacy holder, very fair. All right. And the third one, somebody we'd rather not recall, but I will draw a common aspect as to what I'm talking about them, Adolf Hitler. By all means, any kind of positive, negative adjectives are fine. Dominating, all right. Shrewd, okay. Anything else? You can unmute and talk.
In a negative sense, but he has the vision.
He had the vision, was racist, determined, again, perseverance. All right. Okay. So just letting you guys know, FYI, you will be marked for class participation also, okay, in your MBA. Okay, so just a little bit of preparation there. But okay, this is great. Leader. Okay. Now the thing is, all three of these people, no matter what you talk about them, and I hope nobody agrees with Adolf Hitler, but whether you agree with Steve Jobs or not, whether you're a Liverpool fan or a Manchester United fan, it doesn't matter whether you like Jürgen Klopp or not. There are certain qualities of these people that invoked a lot of loyalty amongst the people that they led. Yeah. And after, whether it be Adolf Hitler, whom we are talking about after decades, whether it be Steve Jobs, again talking about him after he has died, or Jürgen Klopp, who's currently very much in the scene and we are still talking about him. There are a few very particular things that come up about them. They are about one particular or two particular aspects. They have built their brand around certain qualities. Whether we agree with those qualities or not is not the point. That is not what we need to do. We need to understand that everybody you follow, and you listen to has built themselves around a particular quality. All right. Now, in your B schools, why is that important? Why is it, this is all facts, but why is it important for a business school? We are not becoming Jürgen Klopp, and we are most definitely, I hope, not becoming Adolf Hitler. So why are we talking about this in business schools? Okay. So the next slide will show you that there are, the acceptance rates that it's very clear. Forget about Stanford or Harvard, where the acceptance rates are really low. You see other schools as well. The acceptance rates are not increasing above 35%. The left side of the left chart shows you US schools, and the right chart shows you European schools. And both of them have acceptance rates mostly less than 35%, which means out of every 100 applications the school gets, only 35 are in. Yeah. So the eyeballs are fewer. This gets worse when you go ahead and you enter the school. It is not that you enter the school and everything is sorted. When you enter the school, when you're actually in the school, you're competing with a more focused cohort. So you're competing with people at least as brilliant as you, if not more. All right. And what that will do is you will need to differentiate yourself all the time, not just in classes, not just in recruitment events, but also in case studies, in the case methodologies that you follow. If you are going to be appearing for competitions, you're going to have to differentiate yourself. You're constantly going to need to appear unique. And the only way to do that is to have a brand attached to you. The only way to ensure that you are not just another resume that is going on to their table is to have something that differentiates you 100%. So what does a personal brand do to you, do for you? Paridhi, if you can go forward. It's stuck a little bit, but the first point that we were going to talk about till the time the slide comes up is that it makes you unique. Okay, the slide is up. Great. It makes you unique. Okay. Out of a million other candidates, MBA candidates, and MBA is only getting more and more popular. It's not the 90s anymore. MBA is a career goal for most people seeking management roles. Okay. So you need to appear unique. So that is what it does. A, we have discussed about that. B, if Paridhi, the second point, please. The B is it makes you memorable. All right. How you present yourself is important, because if you have a consistent theme, your essays are going to reflect that, your application is going to reflect that, it is going to become easy to remember you. Yeah. And this very much comes from marketing. We say in marketing that if you want somebody to remember you, you have to drill in the same message at least 7 times. You have to ensure that they see you at least 7 times. So if you're mentioning one point once and not in different ways, you're losing out. And it is, of course, your differentiating factor. There are, again, Indians, I'm sure you know about this, there are so many of us. There are so many of us. We have similar kinds of resumes. We have similar kind of backgrounds. We have similar goals. Do you know the number of people who are trying to get into consulting and who are trying specifically to get into MBB? You start with preparing 50 cases. That's your starting point. At least that's what I hear from my consulting colleagues. I'm not going into consulting, so I'm not aware of exactly that, but I can see the competition that is there in consulting. And I'm going to a field that is not very popular, which is, if for a B school, which is marketing. And yet there's constantly something or the other that is happening where I have to differentiate myself, right? So this is what the theme of your story is going to do. Yeah. Now the question comes that all of that is fine. I mean, we need to get it going, but how are we going to do it? Yeah. So the first thing that happens is, the first thing that you need to do is you need to ask yourself questions. And then you need to ask yourself more questions. And then you need to ask yourself even more questions. By questions, I don't mean existential questions. I don't mean what is life, what is death, who am I? No. By questions, I mean you need to sit down and you need to check how and where and why you react to situations a certain way you do. What is your way of working? How do you handle situations? How do you handle challenges? When you start answering these questions, you will start seeing certain qualities and certain traits that are going to start coming out and replicating them in situations that are, that the situations might be very different, but your response seems to be very, very coherent with each other. And that is where you start narrowing down to who you actually are. Okay. Please remember that you don't have to be somebody you're not. Okay. The idea of this is to find out what you can sell. What is it that is your strength that must come across in the theme of your story? Okay. How do you come to these questions? The second point that you see, you focus on the roles you play in life, not just your work, how you are as a child, how you are as a partner, how you are as a friend, how you are as a boss, everything. Okay? Figure out if necessary, one of the things that helped me a lot is I wrote down the different roles I have in life, and I restricted it to, I think, 8. Okay? And then I started thinking of situations. All right. You have to think of your core values. What is it that you're absolutely unwilling to compromise on? A lot of times we think that a certain aspect is what we absolutely need in life and absolutely need from our work, but that is not actually what we desire. Especially when you're younger, you start out, you feel that I'll do whatever work is required as long as the money aspect is taken care of. You pay me well, I'll do whatever needs to be done. And then you start work and then you figure out, you know what, if you are not respecting my time boundaries, I'm not okay with it. I'm okay with taking a 20,000 euros an annum cut for a job that respects my time boundaries. That's your core value. That's your principle. It's fine. You're allowed to do that. So that is figure those out and figure out your priorities, not what your priorities again should be, but what your priorities are exactly. These will help you come to the questions that we talked about. When you figure these out, when you write these down according to your roles, they will help you come to what questions you must ask yourself. Once you have written all of these down for yourself, it's a long exercise, by the way. It's heavy and it's long and it's time-taking and it's very annoying. But you do it once, every single thing after that becomes easier. Everything. Starting from your essays will go according to your theme. Your application will go according to your theme. Your work in your B school, every single thing that you apply to in your B school will go according to your theme. Okay. Third is you have to ask for feedback. Once you've written down all of this, you ask feedback from a trusted person, from somebody who's credible for you. Okay. You do not need to ask feedback from multiple people. Choose 1 or 2 people, and you do not even need to follow it. You need a third opinion because sometimes we cannot see what we cannot see. So that is why it is necessary. And then finally, Paridhi, just going forward a little bit, please. Finally, this is crucial. This is the most important. At least while doing the activity, be authentic. You will find strengths and you will find themes in your life that are worth talking about if you're authentic about yourself. Writing down, I have felt, helps immensely because there are so many things that you can't see. Sometimes you have done a lot, but you feel after getting up that, what am I even doing in life? That happens a lot in these schools, by the way. You see brilliant people around you and you're like, I spent the last night partying and these are the guys who I'm competing with, who I'm supposed to be at the same level at. It's very disconcerting there. And sometimes the opposite happens. Sometimes we rate ourselves far higher than we actually are. And we need feedback and, writing down, get to come back to being authentic. Okay. We're going to talk about being authentic in a little while again, but just going forward, in case this seems very overwhelming to you, it is, don't get me wrong, it is overwhelming. It is an extremely long process. I advise taking professional help. I have seen MBA and Beyond's tools help out quite a lot of people. If you want to go for MBA and Beyond, please reach out to them, and I'm sure you will get a lot of help in developing your personal brand before you do your essays, before you do your applications. It is important. If you are not going with MBA and Beyond, there is absolutely no harm. In fact, it is advantageous in taking professional help from anybody. Anybody who is credible enough can help you out, has the right tools. Approach them, get this done. It will, please trust me on this. It will help you throughout your journey in these schools. We have had applications to different competitions and different summits done in 15 minutes because we have had our themes ready. And there are people who have struggled beyond the deadline because they don't know what to write. So your theme is going to allow you to do that. Not that anybody asked, but in case you want to know, the theme that I came up with for myself was that I believe in cubism, but with feminism. These are my 2 core values. I believe in cubism because I have literally everything in my life has worked out according to that. I have graduated as a chartered accountant. I moved to investment bank. I started working in investment banking. I moved out of there, and I moved into from content. I moved into marketing and communications. So I have had a lot of different views to come to a conclusion of what I want to do. I've had a lot of different views in my work to be able to do marketing. So it fits. And I come from a place of feminism. I am a woman, and I come from a place where diversity and inclusion is a very important subject to me. And whether I like to, focus on that or not, somehow it always turns up in my life. So I'm now the lead of diversity umbrella in my school. I've just, in fact, accepted the presidency. So it just comes along. I can't help it. That's who I am. So this theme is how I base all of my applications, and it has helped me out quite a lot. Right. So this is what your your theme is about. Okay. Paridhi, is it okay if we stop sharing the screen for 2 minutes? We just want to talk a little bit. I just wanted to talk a little bit about a different aspect as far as authenticity is concerned.
Absolutely, Ishmita.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
At your service there.
Sorry?
I just said at your service there.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Now, just dropping back to authenticity for a while, there is a tendency that we have noticed that when you're applying for application, we feel that we have to boast about ourselves. We exaggerate. And while this at the point of time you're making the applications might seem like a good idea, that exaggerating numbers, exaggerating what you actually did might seem like a good idea. I would just ask you to step back and pause for a second and remember that the people you're dealing with, the schools that you're applying to, especially good schools, have an experience of dealing with millions of us, literally millions of us. They know when we are lying. Okay. They know when we are exaggerating to an extent where we cannot back it up, and you will get caught. We have seen this happen, by the way. There have been people who have exaggerated and they couldn't come back with the follow-up question. They couldn't answer the follow-up questions. You cannot prepare a lie to the T. It's not going to be able to happen. There are going to be people who are going to ask you questions that is going to stump you. And if you haven't been honest in your application or in what you're writing in your essay, if there's a story that's been made up, which happens a lot, by the way, in questions like, tell us about a situation where you overcame a challenge. I'm 100% sure that if you have anything more than 3 years of work experience, you have overcome at least 10 challenges in your career. It's just not possible. It is just not possible that you have worked for 3 years and you have had no challenge in your career. But because it is so much easier, or sometimes you just do not have the confidence and you feel that maybe I haven't really done anything, but I want to get in, so I'm going to cook things up. That is possibly the time to step back, talk to, again, your trusted advisor, write down the stories, the things that you have done in your career, and you will find something that you can talk about. You do not need to lie. You do not need to exaggerate. It will backfire on you. If there is even one question that comes out that comes back to bite you, you will be in a lot of trouble. So one is that. Secondly, the inconsistency is going to show. If you are writing about challenges that you have overcome or achievements that you have had that are not yours, the applications are designed in a way where you're talking about similar kind of things at multiple places. If you're writing 4 essays, you're repeating a lot of things, maybe in different contexts, but you're talking about similar aspects of you. Your interviews are going to be surrounding that. A large part of your interview is going to be about what you've already written. They want to talk to you about you. There's hardly going to be anything that is technical. We are, after all, management students. So if you do not, if you slip up in remembering what you've written, that is going to be a problem. But if you've actually experienced it, the chances of you slipping up about that is practically negligible. You're not going to forget the truth. Okay. So that is why it's important to be able to refrain from the urge of boasting in your resumes, in your applications. Okay. Also in your resumes, by the way, we have seen people who have had a really bad time with this. There have been people who have been given great jobs. This I'm talking about even after MBA. I know somebody with whom this has happened. He was given a fantastic job and then withdrawn because his background check didn't work out. And it was just a matter of luck. In most cases, there was no background check, but there was just one call, and it backfired. It backfired so bad. And you do not need to do that. You just need to be able to figure out through the theme and through the background work that you do, the pre-work to actually sitting down and writing your applications and your essays. You need to figure out who you are and what you want to convey. Once you have done that, everything else is a cakewalk. It doesn't take much time. It honestly, it's the pre-work that takes more time. Writing does not take as much time. If you saw what Elena was talking about, a lot of it was actually doing the work in the background. She did talk about going out, taking a walk, being in a good mood. She talked about all of that. It is crucial to prepare for it. It's like a match. You play the match for 90 minutes, but you're preparing for a football match. You play a match for 90 minutes, but you're preparing for a very long time. So it's absolutely crucial to be able to do that. Right. So this is all I had to convey to you all. I would hand over now to Paridhi to take you all through what MBA and Beyond can do for you.
Thanks a lot, Ashmita. Thanks a lot, Alina, for amazing insights. And I absolutely love the theme, how we are emphasizing on the fact which is most overlooked, which is introspection in any application journey. And that's the most common mistake that we make in our application journey. And that's why, like, whenever we get applicants, they always ask us, why does it take us so much? Like, why does it take MBA and Beyond so long to, like, why is it 25 days on an average per application? Why should I start already? Because, like Alina and Ashmita just emphasized, it's not application writing, it's not LORs and essays, it's the pre-work before that, it's the foundation that you're going to be laying, it's the narrative you're building, it's the branding you're going to be doing, and that takes effort. So again, you're going to receive emails, but I'm going to walk you through the process. Please look for your marketing, or like as in your spam, if you've not interacted with us before this, because it's possible that the emails are going to land in your spam folders. If you're interested in working with us, please sit through this, introspect a little tomorrow, and send it to us by EOD. 2 questions, 3 schools you're trying to apply to and why. What do you think is your most unique selling point for a business school? Think about the pointers that both Elena and Ashmita have shared today. All right, walking you guys through the process. If you're interested in working with us, there's a pre-work that we do with all our applicants, along with, of course, mapping you to the relevant consultant who's going to be appropriate for your journey based on your aspirations, your goals, your ambitions, the schools that you're trying to target, because we've got a array or like a bunch of consultants who are spread across the globe, who are into the post MBA situation where you really want to land into, and they've all attended top global business schools ranked by Financial Times. Name Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, INSEAD, LBS. These are more than your consultants. They are your mentors who've taken a similar journey like yourself, and they know in and out of what it takes to get admits across multiple schools. Now we get you started with something that's called content gathering phase, and this phase is split into 3 sets. Set 1 revolves around very high level questions around core and fundamentals of any business school, no matter what business school you're applying to. So the snapshot of it you just saw, it does not depend. You don't really necessarily even need to know which schools you're going to go for. You're going to be introspecting about your journey, about your life so far, both personal and professional. You're going to be talking about your strengths, achievements, weaknesses. We're going to provide you frameworks and some samples to understand how should you be approaching these questions, because you're going to be tackling a lot of 12 main questions basically and 40 mini questions under it. That'll help you arrive at a narrative, which is going to be snippets around what business schools are going to ask you later. So once these questions, by the way, have been devised by admissions directors and alums of some of the top business schools, putting together frameworks to help candidates approach their journeys and introspection in a step-by-step process. So this is set one. Set two revolves around we trying to understand you from a third person perspective. Now, go back to the point where Elena and Ashmita both emphasized that you have to be authentic. You cannot boast too much about yourself. So if you're going to write your application, you will notice that you will either undersell yourself or you're going to oversell yourself. And neither of them is good for your application. So you have to very appropriately, with the right mix, present yourself in all neutrality as a global business leader. So just understand, business schools are interested in making you a future global business leader, and you have to write your application with the perspective of convincing them of that. Now, this has to be very, very self-bias free. Business schools have a knack of identifying self-biases, and our purpose is to actually get rid of any kind of self-biases in your application. For that, we're going to ask you to choose 3 really important people in your life, 1 personal, 1 professional, and the third one could be either of them. We're going to send them a survey, like a candidate questionnaire, to collect some information on your experiences with them, your strengths, your weaknesses, their thoughts on your failures and achievements, and how do they see you as a person. It's important for us as your facilitator, because later we're going to undo any kind of biases in your application. And might I tell you, some applicants are so clever who are working with us, they actually already get their recommenders to do this bit for them. Why is this important? Because you will realize that a recommendation cannot be a duplication or a replication of your essays or resume. It has to fit perfectly well, and it has to be a complementary piece of evidence that's going to bolster your application. For that, you really need to know how your references are looking at you, how your recommenders are looking at you. So if you've got a really nice repo, a really nice relation with your recommenders, you can actually ask your recommenders to do this bit for you as soon as you start the work on your application, without even knowing which schools you're really targeting. So this is set 2. Then we move on to set 3. Set 3, where I personally believe most of the magic happens. And this goes back, circling back to what Ashmita highlighted. We are so many, and I know 70% of us sitting over here are Indians, and the rest of us are from South Asia. Some of us are from Africa and Europe as well, but most of us are Indians, and we are too many everywhere. It's hard for us to stand out if you're just going to compare our professional journeys, and if you're just going to talk about our professional journeys. You might have moved your KPI from point A to point B, but somebody might have moved it from point A to point Z. And how do you stand out? How do you make your story be told if it's just KPIs you guys are talking about? So, and I know we do lack, like Indians, because we're so busy making a life and the work culture, that we are low on extracurriculars a little, but it's important to bring out whatever personality we have to the table in our professional experiences or outside of professional experiences. So here we're going to put you through a personality test. And based on the results of the test, we're going to define the traits that are going to become the backbone of your application. Everything else that you've done in your life is going to hang around it as a supporting piece of evidence. I know we have a question around personality and strengths and weaknesses. We're going to just tackle it shortly, but it's important to highlight and showcase the person that you are, also because business schools are not just looking for your professional journeys in your essays. They are looking for the core values that they hold true, which is the personality of a business school, to match with you. If you're a perfect match with their values, and that's where the essay questions are also revolving around, you are a perfect fit for their cohort. And they're 100% convinced this is a person who matches our values and is going to be a global business leader and is going to make us proud. So all that they care about is their career statistics. All that they care about is how are they going to flash you on their front page or their news bulletin somewhere. So you have to start thinking about the school's values and your personality with respect to how well it matches with the values. All right. Then we, of course, once this pre-work is done, during this journey, of course, you're going to be having a lot of interactions with our content gathering specialist, who's also a psychologist who understands completely what it makes like a business school application from a personality perspective. You're also going to be interacting and you're going to be introduced with your consultant. And both of them together are going to come together with a branding document for you. The branding document that Ashmita talked about. This is your one-pager document. It's going to have your high-level storyline, your theme, your strategy, and your direction. You can stick it on your wall, remind yourself every day, this is your one-pager that you're going to present and repeat and revise and present to any business school that you're applying to. This is your foundation. Based on this, you can have a brainstorming session with your consultant if you're confused about schools, and they're going to help you bucket those schools into dream, realistic, and safe schools. Why we at MBA and Beyond don't just go by picking schools based on your GMAT score, because we have been successful with applicants with low GMAT scores, even at schools. For example, Shweta is one of like our best success stories. She was a 690 GMAT. She made it to LBS with a 100% scholarship. And it is possible because she only picked schools after she did her narrative, after she did her content gathering. And that's when the consultant was able to advise that, hey, you're really good with this aspect, and let's say this value, which LBS is really looking for, which is international experience. And no matter, even if your score is low, you are going to pull off a great application. So it's very important for you to understand the values that your personality has, how well it is matched to different schools. That changes the game of how you're bucketing your dream, realistic, and safe schools right now. Moving on, once your branding is ready, once you picked your schools, then we're going to, of course, your consultant is going to hold your hand, help you with content placement. You'll realize it's a piece of cake if you really spend good time on the foundational journey. Then you're going to work on your essays, on your letters of recommendation, on your resume, on your interviews, and finally, if you make it through, then we're going to do a lot of mock sessions. There's something very new which MBA and Beyond has started doing. For example, your primary consultant is Elena or is Ashmita. When you're at the interview stage, we're actually going to make you go on a blind interview date with a consultant who's an alum of the respective school that you're actually applying to. So we're doing like a lot of cross-matching for you to get the real sense of what it's going to be like when you're really sitting down with a person from that school interviewing you. So that's the full process. And we've got a bunch of questions. So we're gonna, I think one of the questions that Dimple asked, can we really be vulnerable in our essays, talking about personal failures, low phases, impact learnings, etc., or does it show one in a weak light? Ashmita, Elena, do you guys want to take that one up?
Sure. Yeah. I can start, and then Ashmita, if you want to comment over that. I think that the more authentic you show yourself, the better, because it's more engaging the story and it's more interesting to read. And in the end, you want to be engaging for the reader. But at the same time, I would add those weak moments or low phases as something that help you improve or achieve something else. I wouldn't just leave it like a negative situation or something like negative or weak about you. It's something that help you or push you to improve or become better. So try to see the positive side of that low stage or low phase.
Perfect. Ashmita, do you want to add something to that question?
I think Elena covered that. As long as you have a learning, as long as you have something positive that you are putting in, you're good.
Absolutely. All right. There's another question by Shruti. How to choose the correct elective subject for you? This essentially means which factors should we consider while making this decision? Anyone? Ashmita, do you want to take that one up?
Sure. I'm sorry. What do you mean elective subject?
I think what she means is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shruti, what's like, how should you design your curriculum, which according to me should be according.
All right. Okay. Okay. So Shruti, there are two things. There are broadly two types of people who come into a B school from what I've seen. One is people who are very sure of where they want to go or fairly sure of where they want to go. In that case, elective subjects become pretty easy. For example, if you want to get into marketing, and I was pretty sure that I am pretty sure that I want to get into marketing, and you know where your weak spots are. I know that this A, B, and C is what I have to do, and C, D, E, and F is what I already know. They need not be marketing, by the way. There are a couple of marketing people who are, in fact, now taking electives that have more to do with finance. because they don't understand that aspect of the business. So once you've identified your need, it becomes very easy. If you are in this category, it is not going to be a big deal for you. But I'm guessing you are not in this category. Otherwise, you would have not asked this question. You would be like many, many other people who are coming to a B school to figure out what is it that you want to do, which is a very fair thing to happen. I do not know which schools you're applying to and how you're going about it. Most cases, you will have till the middle of term 2 to be able to choose which electives you want to go to. Once you are done with term 1 is when I suggest that the bidding is not going to start anytime before term 1. And you cannot choose your electives before the bidding starts. You have to bid for your subjects in most schools. At least in European schools. Selena will be able to talk more about US schools. In European schools, you're going to bid for the electives. And even in quite a few Asia Pacific schools. So when you're bidding for your electives, you have enough time to be able to decide them. And you decide them on the basis of how much of term 1 you have done. So your term 1 is going to give you insight on what are your strengths, which subjects do you not need help in. You will also be applying to, if you're applying for consulting, you will already have started applying by then. By December, your applications for your consulting would have gone out. If you're applying to MBA development programs, you would have applied by then. If you're applying to full-time roles, you would have had recruitment events, networking events where you would have already gone and seen what people need. So according to that, your resume, and you would have also, by the way, already worked on your resume because you're sending out to all of these people. And that's when it's easy to spot the gaps. And that is how you choose your electives. Just a fair warning, it is very, very easy to get caught up in peer pressure in electives. It's extremely easy. I've seen this with the previous batch, and they have all warned us about this. So I'm passing on their warning to you. If you're choosing electives, choose what you need. Don't choose what other people seem to want to go towards simply because they're going towards that. This will happen to you in lab period. This will happen to you in electives. Do not do that. Sit with your career advisor, figure out what it is that you need, and then go for it. Do not go for whatever other people are going towards. That would be my number one advice.
Got it. Thanks a lot, Ashmita. There's one more question, even though like I've answered it, but it'll be nice to get you guys to have some perspective on this. Is it okay to quote a discussion with an alumni in the application?
I can start with that one. I always tell the candidates I talk to talk to alumni a lot. I think that you get a really, really good and fresh perspective of what's going on campus and what's happening or what has happened or any changes. Maybe adding a quote, I would add something really short so you don't eat much of the space that you're provided. But I would definitely try to get the perspective and add it into the essay. I think it shows that you're interested in the school, that you've done your homework, that you're talking to people from the school, and you really have a really good feeling of what's going on and why you like that school so much. So yeah, I would add it, but in a really short manner.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Elena. All right. Sanjeev is asking, I'm not sure if I get the question right, but I'll try. Your brand can be that you can think differently in different situations. Okay, so like basically a one-liner, like a brand tagline. Do you guys want to take that one up? Elena, Ashmita, think different in different situations.
I think if that is, I mean, there's no right or wrong brand. Your brand is what it is. So if you're going for, for saying that you are adaptable, you can think differently in different situations, that's fantastic. That's a brand that you can absolutely go with. If you think that that is not you, don't go with that. That's all. That is it. There's no right or wrong way to go about. There's no right or wrong answer of what your brand is.
All right. Okay. There's one more question, Dimple. I know we have a bunch of questions. We'll try to take as much. We've got just a minute. Dimple is asking, there can be sides of one's personality which have recently developed, one has been aware of or discovered, like something that's happened newly. So in that case, there might not be enough evidence to back them up with. How do we convince schools of the conviction or commitment in such a case? That's a very good question.
Is it okay if I take this up? I
Yeah,
have
go
actually
on, please,
an example
Ashmita.
for this.
Yes.
Yeah. Dimple, you do not need too many examples. You need one. Okay. You will most likely not have the space to explain too many things also. And it is absolutely fine for personalities and people to change over time. It shows growth. So that is great. And if you have discovered something, 100% try and expand on it. And that is something that happened with me. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a personal background. I used to be a person who used to panic very easily. I would panic and I would get anxious, and I thought I was a human being who froze during crisis, and you shouldn't rely on me in crisis. Just absolutely just ignore me in crisis and let me be. And then about 2 weeks before I was supposed to give my GMAT, my father passed away of COVID. It was a very bad situation. It was, as you can imagine. I gave my GMAT. My dad wanted me to do an MBA for the past 5 years. So he had been pushing me. And then when I finally decided to go, tragedy hit. So I gave my GMAT and I got a fairly decent score. I got 720, which was not bad at all. And then I started with my applications, and one of the essay questions was that talk about a failure or talk about a challenging situation that you've overcome. And I wrote about this. This has got nothing to do with my work. This had got nothing to do with what I had done in my entire life. In fact, it changed my view about myself completely. I was fantastic in a crisis situation. I handled it really well. And it spoke a lot about what I was, and a quality that I wanted to highlight, that I can work, I can handle pressure situations. And you must realize that for a manager or for a leadership position, that's an extremely crucial quality to have, that you can handle critical situations and that you can handle difficult situations smoothly without losing track, and you are flexible to change your process because you have set a goal and you want to achieve it. And that came out really well. And in my interview, that was brought up again. It was brought up specifically by my interviewer, and we talked about it again, and it worked really well in my favor. I did get the admit. So you do not have to, that was it. And when I was showing this to my friend who worked as a consultant for an application, and he said that usually people are very apprehensive about putting in personal stories and not work-related stories. You feel like you want to always highlight work-related stories. That's not true. They are not looking to hire you. They are looking to give you an admission into a school that is going to make you a better leader in the business world. You do not need to be afraid of putting out stories that you don't have massive examples for, but that is major enough for you. If you are convinced that it is a story that you need to tell, and if you are, like Elena said, if it inspires you when you read it, go for it. It's the story for you. So don't worry about how many times you have done that. Once is enough.
Absolutely. Thanks for that beautiful answer and the closure, perfect closure with that answer, Ashmita. I hope you guys enjoyed the session today. If you guys have any questions, you can always reply to the emails that you received from us. And I'll personally be looking forward to reading your answers, and I'm going to be sharing it with Elena and Ashmita also later to read. So all the best, guys. Have an introspective weekend, and I'm sure you guys will love it at the end of the day tomorrow. Happy weekend, and thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Elena and Ashmita. It was lovely having you over.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.